Welcome back to the Business Roundtable Podcast. I am your host, David Carr, founder of Steward, your business, bringing teams together to accomplish great things. And this week, we have another fantastic guest, one that I've followed for many years, Dr. Tony Alessandra. I'm super excited to have him here and to share with us his background. And you're going to get just a wealth of knowledge, understanding, and practical insights here. We're going, I'm titling this up, going beyond the gut, why assessments drive smarter business decisions. So welcome to the podcast, Tony.
Thank you, David.
Absolutely. Tony, you've been around, you have been, working with as a speaker. People may have known you, they may have followed your emails and speaking for years. And now you've been the founder of Assessments 24/7, which I'm super excited to get into, that are really about a set of tools and resources that really drive alignment and results. But before we get into assessments themselves, I always love to have our guests give us a little bit about your journey as a business owner, as a leader, and what brought you to Assessments 24/7 today.
Yeah, so let me go way back, David. I grew up in the projects of New York City. Growing up, went to Catholic school. In Catholic school, every month we had a new thing we had to sell, to our relatives and door to door, candy bars, chances to win a car, whatever. And I would always do well. So it started instilling in me that I was a good salesperson, even as a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
As the years went on, I went away to college, and my parents only had enough money saved to pay for my freshman year. And my mother said to me, "Don't worry, something will happen." My mother, had this vision, something will happen. And here I was now between my freshman and sophomore year. Parents didn't have the money to pay for my sophomore year. So I got a job doing construction. And within 1 week, the contractor, the general contractor, came up to me, knelt down beside me. I was on the roof hammering in nails. He knelt down beside me, put his arm around me and said, "Tony, become a doctor." So that was his way of firing me. That night, I was at a party and I was telling the story. I'm a storyteller. So yes. I was telling the story, making people laugh. And one of the guys who was on the football team with me at our high school, Toms River High School in New Jersey, he was a year behind me, but now he had graduated. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come work for my uncle?" And I said, "Doing what?" He said, "Selling cookware, door to door." I said, I know nothing about it. He said, "Money, come try it." So I did. I tried it out. In the 9 weeks I had left for that summer, made several thousands of dollars, enough to pay for my tuition, room, board, spending money, everything. And I did that for 2 more summers. It's interesting that as I was doing that and earning all this money to pay for my education, my parents never had to pay another penny. The top salesperson from Texas, I was in New Jersey, the top salesperson from Texas, are you ready for this?
Yep.
Selling cookware, Zig Ziglar.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Yes. Yeah, no, we both sold Salad Master cookware back in the mid to late 60s. So anyway, I graduated Notre Dame, went to University of Connecticut, got my MBA, decided to become a college prof with an MBA, did that for 3 years. And then I decided, I really like this college teaching, but in order to really stay in it, I have to get a PhD. I looked around, I found Georgia State University in Atlanta. The reason I chose that is when I was a kid, there were a couple of books that I read. I really was into motivational things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the books was Psycho-Cybernetics, which I loved. I don't know if you ever read that by Maxwell.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But the other one was The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David Schwartz, multi-million best-selling book. And he was a prof at Georgia State University. So I called him up, said, "Look, I'd like to come there. Would you be my dissertation chairman?" He said, "Yes."
Wow.
I went to Georgia State. They gave me a teaching position, which helped, pay for everything.
Yeah.
Got my PhD. And then got a teaching position at the University of San Diego. So I live in San Diego now, but came out here in 76. after 2 years of teaching, and at the time, by the way, I should say in November of 74, I had finished all my coursework, and I went to this little workshop about personality styles, which I had never been exposed to before. This was November of 74. I sat through this, and if you believe in love at first sight, but for a concept, I said, this is what I want to do. I started doing some training and speaking around these 4 styles. And so now in 78, September 78, the dean of the School of Business in San Diego said, Tony, you're speaking a lot and training a lot. You're teaching. You know what? You got to pick one or the other. And I said, Dean, I've been teaching now for 8 years. I'll finish out this semester, but I will give a go at being a professional, full-time professional speaker. So in January of 79, full-time professional speaker, did that, averaged probably 100 paid speeches a year for about 40 years. But I will tell you, so it started January of 79, where I actually was now not a teacher anymore, at least an academic teacher.
Yes.
And now I was a speaker, but the travel was killing me. It really was. So I decided in 2000, I took my entire staff, my office, everything, my speaking, spun them off into their own business, sold it to my VP of marketing, and said, hey, I'll work for you rather than you working for me, and I'll just pay you in percentages. So I started doing that. But at that moment, that was in 2000, I had already either late 99 or early 2000 said, you know what, I'm going to make a business of the assessments. I really was intrigued with it because in 96, from 74 to 96, everything was paper-based.
Yep.
In 96, I decided to put it online. The Platinum Rule assessment online was getting thousands upon thousands of people taking it every month for free because I wanted to sell my book, The Platinum Rule.
Yep.
And it took me a while. I was actively speaking, making good money. My focus was there. I was still watching, this Platinum Rule assessment. Yeah. And I started saying, this could be a business. So I was on the phone with a company I had hired out of Florida to build the platform for me so that I can sell the assessments. And I got on the phone with them. I just realized that it wasn't going to work with them. And they told me, you can't use anything we've already done for you. I said, no problem. I hung up the phone. This 22-year-old kid was in my office working on my website. And he said, excuse me, Tony, I'm sorry, I overheard the conversation. Could you give me a shot?
Wow.
Let me try to develop this. I had nobody else. I said, all right, let's give it a go. So he dug into it. He built something. Our first customer, Ken Blanchard.
Oh my gosh.
The author of The 1 Minute Manager. Talk about luck.
Yes.
I will tell you, I say that my life has been filled with luck. Filled with luck. I honestly think I have an angel on my shoulder. Who
You're blessed. Absolutely.
Really, it just has been incredible. So I built it. Ken Blanchard, the University of Phoenix, which was a big client. And this kid, kept improving things. And then he started hiring some people for me, other IT people. And that was in 2000. And here we are now in 2025. And that young kid who now is getting ready to turn 48 this summer is my CEO of the company.
Wow. What a journey. Oh my gosh.
Guy, Brandon Parker. And I mean, he does an incredible job. The employees love him. He handles everything in the company. I mean, we have a COO and so on, but he just does an incredible job. So there came a point where I had to actually stop speaking because I figured as the assessment business grew, I cut back little by little by little. I was waiting for the right time. I wanted to do a mic drop speech.
Yeah.
I wanted to go out on top, David. I didn't want people to be saying, geez, I remember when he was good. I wanted to go out where people would be saying, what? Are you crazy? So that happened in April of 22. I gave my mic drop speech in Las Vegas, and that was it. I haven't spoken since. So it's been over 3 years. I have not given a speech. And all my energy and devotion is to this company. But again, Brandon runs the company, not me anymore. I kind of, I'm there. I jokingly tell Brandon every so often, Brandon, I've taught you everything you know about this business, but not everything I know. There's still some things I have, that I'm not necessarily holding them back, but the occasion hasn't come up for me to convey that additional knowledge to him. So I love the assessment business. And the reason I love it, I was just on the phone with somebody this morning, actually a competitor. But a lot of competitors in the assessment industry are friends. We've known each other for many years. I've been in the business now over 50 years. And I was talking to him, and one of the assessments that he sells is called a strong vocational assessment. I took that assessment back in 1973.
Oh, wow.
And it tells you what you'd be good at. So when I took it, I was a college prof at Cal State Fullerton, and it said number 3, it had a whole list of things, but number 3 said I'd be good in marketing and merchandising. Well, heck, yeah, of course. Number 2 said I'd be good at sales. Well, of course.
Yeah, there you go.
But number 1, I looked at it. I said, this is absolutely crazy. Remember, this was 1973. I said, I can't believe how absolutely wrong this was. And I filed it away. So as you know, I became a full-time professional speaker in January of 79. I was gifted enough to be inducted into the Speakers Hall of Fame in 1985. I was doing 100 plus paid speeches a year. And then in the early 90s, I decided to get this multi-page scanning machine, a Xerox scanner. And I wanted to take all my the file cabinets, and one folder at a time, one drawer, one folder. I would scan it and then save it on my computer. One day I come across that strong vocational.
Oh, you found it again, huh?
I found it because I filed it away, and I look at it and I say, oh my God, I can't believe this. Number 1, professional speaker.
Back in 73, and you just filed it away, huh?
Yeah, but at 73, it wasn't even my frame of reference.
Yeah. Who's
how accurate was that?
Wow. And there you did it for.
That just told me that, the right assessments can be life-changing. So that strong vocational, I really, even though we don't market it at all, I'm a real advocate of it. But, assessments, David, they're like, I describe them as an MRI of the mind. Right? Absolutely. Just like, when you go into a medical thing and you get an MRI, it kind of really gives you an insight, a deeper insight than even an X-ray to what may or may not be wrong. And that's what assessments do. And there are many different assessments. We have several. We have emotional intelligence. We have motivators, which tell you why you do what you do. Are you more economically motivated, more theoretically motivated, more aesthetically, or altruistically? But our biggest seller is the DISC assessment. And that was when I went to that little workshop in November of 1974. This is what it was about. It was about the 4-style model. It was something that was so near and dear to my heart. It was my number 1 speech that I have been giving, since 1974 all the way through 2022. So the DISC assessment is really, really significant. One of the best-selling, if not the best-selling, in the world assessment. So one of the problems, David, and why some people are not really into, some people or companies are not into assessments.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to tell you one reason, but I think some people equate some of these assessments. If you ever remember, in some magazines, they used to have these little quizzes,
Oh yeah, right.
to answer the quizzes, and they
Hmm.
sometimes equate it to these, pop psych.
Yeah. They're very simplistic. Yeah.
Yeah, very simplistic, which is so far from the truth. Uh,
Hmm.
and then even if they don't believe that, a lot of people, when they use assessments, they use what's called one and done. The assessment is taken, they look at it, they read it, maybe even get a little bit of a debrief, but then
Hmm.
file it away, and that's it. And
Yep.
to me,
Yep.
that is taking incredibly valuable information and just stuffing it in a drawer and forgetting about it.
Hmm.
We believe in using it in many different ways, using it for team building,
Yes.
using it for conflict resolution, using it for leadership development, using it for sales development, using it for actually taking candidates and using it from a hiring perspective. Now, not as you don't want to use an assessment. I'm just telling you my opinion here.
Yeah.
Use an assessment to say you're hired or not hired.
I
It's
agree
just
with you 100%. Yeah.
of the puzzle, right, David?
Yep.
Another piece, along with your resume, your
Mhm.
background, your education, references.
Absolutely.
But then again, let's look at a resume. A resume to me is like a balance sheet with no debits.
Yeah, that's a good way of
Right?
putting it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like a DISC assessment is much more objective, and a DISC
Mhm.
assessment is very difficult to gain because you're
Yes.
not really sure how to answer these questions. What are they
Right.
looking for? And there are ways where the assessment gets thrown out if you
Hmm.
try to fool it too
Yeah.
much. We. So
Yeah.
uh, and so there's a lot of different ways that you can use it within a company, and we encourage that, for all the things that I just mentioned. But here we are today with the growth of artificial intelligence and
Yes.
what that does. So what we did is within the last month, we just came out with our own uh, artificial intelligence. It's AI assessments intelligence,
Hmm.
and so we have a closed system, and what it does is absolutely incredible. So let's talk about it for a company. So a company
Sure.
decides to, let me just use with this because it can be used with our motivators or emotional intelligence. But let's just talk about this. So let's say everybody in our company, and I'm going to make believe you and I are in this
Yeah. Absolutely.
ABC company, and everybody in our company has the DISC assessment. You run a division, I run a division. We don't report to each other. We're peers, but yet I need to influence you. Wait, let's
Mhm.
say that I'm sales. I run the sales department. You run the production, and sales and production are always like this because
Oh yeah.
sales is always promising. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. We could do that.
And you promised them what? By
Yeah.
when? But so now I've got to try to convince you to go ahead and do this custom project. So I can now, with our artificial intelligence, with our AI,
Mhm.
now that I know we have your disk and my disk, I can
Mhm.
ask our AI, look, I'm going into a meeting with David, and or I'd have to say David Carr, so it picks the right
Yes. Yes. There you go.
profile. And I need to convince him about doing this, this, and this. What is the best way to approach him, and what should I avoid? And it will tell me exactly what to do with you. And it doesn't do it based on DISC. And for those who are not familiar with DISC, it's dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. It goes much deeper than that, even to the way you answered the questions
Hmm.
in the report. So it goes a whole bunch deeper than just, a D. No,
Hmm.
it goes deeper. And it will tell me exactly how to deal with you. If I'm a salesperson and I need to sell somebody, and that person has taken the disc, let's say a customer, I can actually, let's say I have a customer. Hey, look, before we start working with each other, hey, I have a free disc that you
Hmm.
can take. be interesting. So person takes
Yeah.
the disc, and I say to our AI within assessments 24/7, hey, David is a new customer. What's the best way to approach him? What's the best way to present?
Mhm.
What's the best way to ask for a commitment? What's the best way to uh, assure long-term customer satisfaction? It will tell me exactly what to do with you. You will not believe what we have fed into our AI system.
Mhm.
It's a major undertaking. It's a closed system because all of our data is in there. And when I say all of our data, we're talking about multi millions of different assessments.
Wow.
So
Well, this
it's
is
great.
so powerful, Tony. I wanted to go back because what you said was I feel like a lot of people, there's a lot of information. A lot of people take an assessment or watch a video or get the book, but it's a lot more about that. Like what you're saying is you're actually taking the data and in this case of the AI, you're actually working it. You're like, how do I leverage this to help me make better decisions? How to show up? And I think that's the real power of these assessments. And I agree with you. A lot of people I feel like get stuck in and they take it, but they don't really understand how to leverage the power of the tool and the resource. And that's why I love having you on here because as a coach consultant myself, I actually have taken, multiple assessments from you, the DISC and the motivators, among others. And so I find revelation and then it's like, okay, I apply it to myself. And then how do I help my clients? So it's extremely powerful. I hope folks that are listening to this had resistance to assessments. It's not about like putting people in a box. It's just like you say, how do you understand how people naturally show up and how I can better manage and lead and communicate more effectively. That's what I'm hearing from you, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It,
I mean, so the fact that you have this, and I love how you pair up in the way that with this is with other business owners and coaches, and we can help bring it to our clients is because it's fused. We at the end of the day, we still need human connection. I think more than ever in our world today. You know, we want to be known, understood, and the computer's great, but at the end of the day, what's my relationships like with, having you here? How the people in my life, the coworkers, we want to have better relationships. And I feel like in our world today, we're really struggling with having real, deep, authentic relationships.
yeah, and it's interesting you used the term authentic because we were toying with the idea of calling our AI authentic intelligence uh,
Mm,
because that's what it is. And I know I've been talking about this from a business point of view, but
yep.
it works in personal relationships. So with your spouse or significant others, with your children, with your children and their teachers. It just goes on and on. We actually have an assessment called the Kids Disc, which is incredible. It's a whole different questionnaire that's aimed at kids, typically in the third through eighth or ninth grade.
Mhm.
The report is a three-part report. Part one describes the child based on how the questions are answered. Part two is for the parent. Now that you know the child style, what should you be doing?
Yes.
Three is for the teachers or coaches that now say, okay, now that you know about the style, this child style, what's the best way to coach them or teach them? And it is unbelievable, really unbelievable. And with kids, instead of using DISC, we use little birds, an eagle, owl, dove, and parrot. Uh,
Mhm.
so the kids remember it much more easily,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's very colorful. So we really dig into this. We are really into the assessment business because we believe it not only helps people, it helps them communicate, it helps them connect, it helps them persuade. It just goes on and on.
Right. I mean, I love how and you talked about I mean, so it influence we're always talking about influence, right? How do we don't understand it. Number one, I think sometimes, Tony, the assessments give you maybe a reality check of like you said, I didn't even think about the speaking, that when you did that one assessment of like, I don't even think that's real for me, but it really ultimately was. You didn't even recognize it at that time, like that was even in your purview. And I think a lot of times we get closed off The assessments to me, at least, is like a mirror back and saying, "Oh wow, I didn't realize that." Because at least for me, Tony, I growing up, I will adapt and try to show up in a certain way because other people want me to show up that way, and I've learned that's a more it's not my preferred way of being. It's because I've been cultivated in a way in our world, and I think assessments can cut through that. Like you said, you can try and game it, but it's going to cut through, and you're like, I didn't see it that way before, right?
Yeah.
Have you
And
had those aha moments with people? Yeah,
yeah.
they're like,
And
wait a minute.
we rarely, if ever, have somebody tell us this did not describe us the right way. In fact, the last time some guy said, I took the assessment and it doesn't describe me at all. I want my money back. And we said, fine, we're going to give you your money back. But before that, why don't you go, because he had mentioned, he was married. Why don't you go have your spouse look at it and ask her if it describes you? And he came back to us and said, I don't want my money back. She said, this is exactly like you. He didn't see himself that way, but she said, this is exactly who you are. It is absolutely uncanny how accurate the assessment is in describing people. And you mentioned, your business being a consultant and how you help other people and businesses. I would say our biggest customers at Assessments 24/7 would be business coaches, yourself,
Yep.
companies that want to develop their employees. We have numerous universities that use it for development of staff and faculty, but also using it in certain business and psychology courses with their students. We have the government. My gosh, one of the big ways for the government. The government has a lot of people coming in. Let's talk more specifically about the military. The military has a bunch of new people coming in. How do I get the best out of these people? And a whole bunch of people coming out. How do we take the people, particularly coming out of the military, and giving them suggestions and advice on what they should or could do? Here's an interesting thing, David. I don't know if you've tested our AI yet with your disc, but why don't you ask, with your disc, ask our AI, what are the best occupations for me? See what it says.
I would love to do that. I've got my assessment, so I'm gonna go back in there, Tony. You've given me a challenge, so I'm gonna go test your AI.
Do it. And if you're married and you and your spouse take the assessment, go in and say, hey, what's the best? I mean, look, it's our 20th anniversary. What's the best present I can get from my spouse?
Oh, there you go.
You won't believe what you can ask and how accurate the answers are, because it is AI, but it's using the AI out there in the world, but our data. So it's more precise to an individual person's assessment. I mean, it really is unbelievable.
Yeah, Tony. I mean, you're teaching to the choir. I love this stuff too. I'm with you. I'm all aiming, but I hear a lot of business owners. What I found as a coach, consultant, guiding them and saying, you and I know how valuable this is. And I think sometimes they're like, well, I just want to get another tool or system, like something else in the marketplace that's going to fix the problem in my company. And it's really their people. We all need systems and processes. Don't get me wrong. We need those things. But sometimes I feel like that they feel like that's going to be the answer instead of investing like what you're talking about. So speak maybe to the business owners, just thinking for a minute, like, why should I invest the time? Because I don't have time to do the assessment. My people are going to take it. They're going to like speak a little bit to that, Tony, of like what you've seen, because there's a resistance there of like, wow, we don't have time for this learning and development stuff, and
So and really, it's not that much time.
Yeah.
If it's 15 minutes to do the assessment, I would say that you're probably
there you go. Look at that.
Slow. And again, if you have your whole all the employees in your company take it, it's their 15 minutes, not yours. But when you get all the data back, it's so enlightening, because you can create these graphs to show where all the people land. see where you have an overabundance of employees and where you're lacking in a particular area. Hey, I lack in this area, which is, checking detail, whatever, or I'm overextended in this area where we're all, high I sales types. So everything is all great when in fact it's not necessarily all great. So you really, it doesn't take that much time. And of course, I don't know if you've been through, we have some audio programs that are not audio, video. We call it a virtual training, disc virtual training. You can go through this disc virtual training. Everybody can go through it on their own. You don't have to have a separate session there. It gives them at least a basic background. Our reports, by the way, as opposed to reports from, let's say, competitors, a lot of competitors' reports, it's pretty much all about you, whereas our reports, it's about you. And then there's a whole section on, okay, now that you know about you, here's how you use it with other people.
So powerful.
When I was growing up, and still to this day, my two big things, I keep saying this to our staff: simplicity and practicality. Make it simple so that people understand it, and show them how they can use it on a day-to-day basis. And that's what our reports do. Simple and practical.
Yeah, no, that's great, Tony. I hope everybody's hearing this, and I agree. It's important to understand you by yourself, but then what is it like to be on the other side of you? And I agree with you. Those the assessments that are just about you aren't as, it's helpful, but it's much more practical, like you said, in using those. And those are the ones I like, and that's why, again, why I have you here, Tony, because the value that you're bringing, the assessment that I got, just from running that you gave me, there's just so much in there. It's amazing. You've done a great job of putting that in there. We want to make sure everybody that's listening to this podcast, you guys, Tony and I are connected on LinkedIn. We're going to put, Tony, the links here to the website and all of that. So you guys, please go check it out. Tony's just, again, got just so passionate about this. It's so impactful. Like we talked about, from hiring to leadership development, team building, customer engagement, sales, you name it, just a culture. And I'm a firm believer, Tony, when you create this and you're intentional like this, your example of CEO Brandon, you get employees that will stick around. From a business perspective, my experience is that when you invest in this, people will stick around. If they don't feel understood, if they don't feel, like you're saying, appreciated, they'll leave. And I think it's very costly. So keeping that team intact, it really makes a huge difference in the longevity of your business. The fact that you had this core team, Tony, speaks to your leadership, number one, but and being intentional about that and knowing where your strengths are. And I'll give you an example, Tony, because what you brought up was, knowing the difference and appreciating these things. I had somebody that was very detail oriented, did the QA/QC, which I could do. It wasn't my strength. And so that was great. He came into that position, but he didn't value what I brought from as a connector and a relationship side, and said, why do you need to be like this? We just got to do the system and the process. And I said, we need both. But what happened is the company shifted and really just focused only on the QA/QC. Before you know it, people left over time because they're like, I don't feel appreciated, understood. And so you need both. And that's where I feel like you make, using these assessments, working together and seeing that just is so insightful. Like you're saying, Tony, it can be, it's just such a reverberation throughout the life of your company, and what is ultimately the legacy you're leaving. I love what you've created, Tony. I mean, what a life of design and intentionality that you've done, knowing and leaning into your strengths.
Yeah. So what I think I'm leaving is helping people build stronger interpersonal relationships, the ability to communicate more effectively, the ability to listen and understand. The platinum rule, which was really my baby, the platinum rule is do unto others as they would have you do unto them. So it's a whole concept of understanding the other person and trying to meet them at least halfway. Understand them. That's why travel for kids is so crucial. Travel, not just around the country, but around the world, because you get to see how other people are. and you start saying to yourself, they're really not that different from us. But if you don't know that, you think, wow, they're like aliens, from space. But the whole thing is about really helping people connect. And by the way, if people want to connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously they just go to linkedin.com/ and my last name, Tony, not last name, my full name, Tony Alessandra. Don't put the doctor there. Just all one word, all lowercase, TonyAlessandra. So that's how you get to my site. And then just say that you want to connect with me. If you want to really see our website for the assessments, just go to www.assessments24x7.com. And if you want to just contact me, just say Tony at assessments24x7.com. So Tony at assessments24x7.com. I'll be more than happy. And I answer my own emails, so I don't have somebody looking at them and answering them for me. You send me an email, I will answer it.
Look at that. I love that, Tony. Well, that's why what have you. I mean, you and I have made this connection. Like I said, I'm so glad you're here. I know we're getting to the end of the podcast, but I'm so glad you're here because, like I said, following you for years, getting to have you on the Business Roundtable podcast is a true honor. I hope everybody's hearing loud and clear how important these assessments are. If you would impart, if they take one thing from this podcast, Tony, what would you say? If you got nothing else, what would you say be with them today, our listeners?
Well, I would say, knowing more about yourself is absolutely crucial. Knowing more about other people is as, if not more important, crucial. I used to teach listening, and one of the phrases I had is, when I talk, I only know what I know. But when I listen, not only do I know what I know, I now know what you know. And listening is power. Assessments are power. Assessments are sort of a digital way of listening and understanding people.
Love that. I love that. Thank you so much for being here. I hope everybody, again, you guys know how to reach Tony directly now, but of course you can leave comments, leave your review. We'll really appreciate that. Sharing this with others that you felt got value out of that. It really helps get the message out there. Thank you again for being here, Tony, with us.
My pleasure, David. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Everybody, until next time, be well, be care. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Bye now.